Welcome to Crushgasm, the podcast dedicated to the highs and lows of crushes, from their first to their worst. We're going to cover them all with a cascade of characters, including our guest today, a girl who lived for an end-of-the-year countdown as a kid, me. Yes, it's still a bit slow go around these parts, but I'm still healing from a November to remember, but I am hoping to use this winter break to be like Stella and get my groove back, and I'm taking baby steps towards that by capping off 2024 by talking about the things and people I crushed on the most over the past 300 and something days. So, like I said, I'm still trying to get over the latter half of the year, as my dad was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer at the end of October, and 2 weeks later, he passed on November 2nd. So you can imagine my mental health heading into the following week and realizing that the man who hosted The Apprentice won over a qualified woman. Which leads me to Kamala Harris. I'm not going to get into my top 10 for the year. You can always find that at crushgasmpodcast.com, and Monday I posted about my favorite movie of the year, which is Inside Out 2. So today, to backtrack, I am going to focus on a handful and make you wait for the rest. But anyways, back to Kamala Harris. I won't lie. After the first presidential debate, I was for certain Joe Biden was not fit to run again. Heck, he could barely walk and speak during that debate. So when plans were changed and his VP, Kamala Harris, stepped in and up to the challenge with months to go until November 5th, I was like a lot of people, invigorated. I had hope, and then I had nothing. But if somehow this lands in the hands of Kamala and the ears, I do want to say thank you for trying. I'm just sorry this country is not ready to accept anyone but a man in the driver's seat. Enough about politics, though, because if you're like me, you really could not stand hearing about it 24/7 this year. What I wanted to hear more about, though, was FX's English teacher. Right out of the gate, it drew comparisons to Abbott Elementary, but y'all, 5 minutes in, you knew this was not that show. All they had in common, really, was that they were set in schools. Abbott is the sitcom, it is family-friendly, fun comedy. English teacher as well, the FX version, so there's a bit more grit to it, but at the same time, I do feel it matched the amount of heart going on over on ABC. I always say Abbott reminds you why you teach, English teacher reminds you why you'd quit in a heartbeat. It's a great show, and I'm shocked that it didn't land more nominations at the Golden Globes, but whatever, it's a great show, and the camping episode is top tier comedy gold. Speaking of gold, we'll go from the small to the big screen with Dee Dee. If you're new to the show, then you don't know. Coming of age movies are my absolute favorite because, like I said when I wrote about Inside Out 2, puberty, those teenage years, it's my favorite chapter in human development because it's kind of an even playing field for a majority of us. We're all confused, we just want to fit in, and are trying our best to stay above water as a wave of new emotions and obstacles come our way, and sometimes almost overnight. So Dee Dee is the latest to be added to that genre, and it's phenomenal. We don't have too many in this realm that focus on the millennial experience with the emergence of the internet, emo music, skate culture. I think we had some at the time, if you count that movie with Adam Brody, Grind. I mean, that was kind of skateboardy, but it feels like this is in line with Bo Burnham's 8th grade in showing what teenagers go through with the addition of social media and the pressures on top of that, on top of everything else. Plus, Dee Dee focused on an Asian American kid and family, and we don't get that a lot, if at all. We usually find these movies living in the white suburban neighborhoods and experiences, so Dee Dee did stray away from that and felt authentic from the second it started, not to mention the relationships highlighted between Dee Dee and his mother as well as his older sister were so on point. Just perfection. Now, I won't say my next crush was perfect, but what Halsey did with her 2024 release, The Great Impersonator, was an excellent experiment. I found it not only fun to watch unfold as she released snippets and photo shoots leading up to the release, but I appreciated her words with each choice and seeing just how her influences shaped her and the homage she paid to each of them through song. Now again, not every song was for me, but I felt they were all for her, and that's what matters. Not to mention, this album dropped the day I found out about my dad having the big C, so perhaps that's why I'm going to hold this one a little closer to my heart. And as she sings Ika and Ego, I'm really not as happy as I seem, which, side note, they say to check on your happy friends, your funny friends, and like, I did have people reach out the day I broke the news on my Instagram, but since then, not really that much. So does no one think I'm hilarious? Don't worry, that's just a joke I'm working on, because in 2025, if I get the balls, I do want to try like an open mic for stand-up. More on that later. Speaking of stand-up, I am going to cap this off with crushing on Bob the drag queen. This is nothing new. I've loved Bob since season 8 of RuPaul's Drag Race. However, this year I had tickets to see Bob at the end of October on a comedy tour. I'd gone to Vegas for when we were young a couple of weeks prior and was excited to end the year sort of with one of the funniest people out there. Then, well, to come full circle, I got the dad has cancer news 4 days before the show. If there's anything I know about my dad, if there's anything to know about my dad, one of the things I mentioned a lot in his funeral, and like a lot of people at his funeral mentioned, was that he loved to laugh, he loved to joke around, and he had one of the best laughs in the world. Joyous, loud, could liven even the darkest moods, and I miss it the most. Well, I went to the show and I had a lovely time. Humor has always been one of the biggest gifts my parents have given me, from my dad's aforementioned laugh to my mom's sarcastic take on everything in the world. And knowing Bob had Bob did go through a similar loss this year as well, I felt like I needed to hear the jokes and he needed to hear my laugh, along with everybody else is in the room that night. So Bob, thank you. I appreciate your existence for more than your sense of humor, but I'll get to that another day. For now, thank you for the laughs when they were needed most. So Political Hope, School Days on TV, Coming of Age Perfection, an album close to my heart, and A Woke Man in a Dress. These are just a few of the people and things I crushed on this year. Thank you, as always, for tuning in and listening to me. Fingers crossed I crawl out of the funk and into a new year with guest topics and crushes in 2025. And you can find all of Crushgasm's information below. And until next time, as always, keep crushing it. Crushgasm is part of the I Did Not Make These Rankings podcast network, along with some other pretty cool shows, including An Evening at the Movies, Crime Rewind, Literature Reapers, Love is Black, Masturbators, Men of the Prize, Season to Season, The Simplest, and Toontastic Journeys. You can go to idnmtrpodcastnetwork.com to find not only Crushgasm, but all of the aforementioned really cool podcasts. Alrighty.